The horizon moved quietly through the darkness of space. Lieutenant June sat at his station, eyes fixed on the screen in front of him. The ship had been mapping the outer edges of our solar system for 3 months now. Most days were the same, endless scans of ice and rock. "Commander, I'm detecting something unusual," June said, his voice breaking the silence on the bridge. Commander Hyun looked up from her datapad. "What kind of unusual, Lieutenant?" "Metal readings where there shouldn't be any. And energy signatures, very faint." The bridge crew turned their attention to the main display as June sent his findings to the central system. A blurry image appeared, showing what looked like a damaged spacecraft drifting among the distant ice bodies. "Magnify," ordered Commander Hyun, leaning forward. The image zoomed in, revealing a vessel unlike anything in Earth's records. Its hull was curved in strange places, with what appeared to be crystal formations growing from certain sections. Science Officer Minji ran her fingers across her console, analyzing the readings. Unusual configuration, not matching any known design. She looked up at Commander Hyun. "It's definitely artificial, and it's definitely not one of ours." Captain Sunwoo entered the bridge, immediately sensing the tension. "Report. Unknown spacecraft detected in the Kuiper Belt, Captain," Commander Hyun explained. "Appears damage. No response to our hails." The captain studied the image. After a moment, he made his decision. "Bring us alongside. Prepare a boarding team." Hours later, Lieutenant June found himself floating through the alien ship's corridors. The air inside was breathable, but thin, and strange lights pulsed along the walls like slow heartbeats. "Life signs ahead," whispered Dr. Yunju, checking her scanner. "Several of them." The team moved forward cautiously, turning a corner to find themselves in a large chamber. Inside were beings unlike anything humans had ever encountered. They stood taller than the tallest human, with skin so pale it was nearly transparent. Through it, the team could see the faint outlines of organs and flowing fluids that glowed with a soft blue light. One of the beings approached. It made a series of graceful hand movements. "The universal translator isn't picking up anything," Commander Hyun said, checking her device. The alien continued its gestures, more deliberately now, pointing to itself and then making a sweeping motion across the room. Dr. Yunju stepped forward. "I think it's trying to communicate." She mimicked the alien's movements. The being's eyes widened slightly. They were large and entirely black, without visible pupils. It nodded and repeated the gestures, adding new ones. For nearly an hour, they worked on basic communication until the universal translator began to detect patterns. Slowly, words formed. "We are Veshrai," the translator finally produced. The alien who had approached them seemed to be their leader. He called himself Taeguk. "We are the last," Taeguk explained once they could understand each other better. "Exiled from the Confederation after the Great Division. Hunted across 17 star systems." Captain Sunwoo, who had joined the boarding party, listened as Taeguk told their story. The Veshrai had once been part of a powerful civilization spanning multiple star systems. A political dispute had led to civil war, and Taeguk's faction had lost. Instead of execution, they were exiled. "But then the hunting began," Taeguk said, his voice translated as a flat monotone that couldn't hide the sorrow in his gestures. "They decided exile was too merciful. Only 10,000 Veshrai remained alive, hidden on various ships throughout the outer solar system. This vessel had suffered damage while fleeing their pursuers." Dr. Yunju noticed a younger Veshrai sitting apart from the others. Its skin had a grayish tone and seemed to be flaking in places. "May I?" she asked, approaching with her medical scanner. Taeguk nodded permission. "This looks like some kind of cellular breakdown," Dr. Yunju said after examining the young alien. "Is this common among your people?" Taeguk's shoulders dropped in what the humans were beginning to recognize as a gesture of sadness. "It began 3 generations ago," he replied. "Without intervention, we face extinction within 50 years. As the Horizon crew returned to their ship to report their findings to Earth, they knew humanity faced a critical choice. These aliens needed help, but helping them might bring their hunters to Earth's doorstep. Captain Sunwoo looked back at the damaged alien vessel through the viewscreen. "Either way," he said quietly, "nothing will be the same again." 3 months had passed since the Horizon discovered the HFY. The Luma Medical Center, built into the moon's gray surface, now housed a special wing dedicated to helping the alien refugees. Dr. Inju hadn't slept properly in weeks. Her lab was filled with samples from Earth's deepest oceans, places where life survived in conditions that would kill most other organisms. "Look at this," she said to her assistant. Under the microscope, bacteria from the Mariana Trench were interacting with HFY tissue samples. Where the tissue had been gray and dying before, now it glowed with renewed life. Later that day, Dr. Yunju walked into a room filled with scientists from both species. The human scientists wore white lab coats. The HFY wore nothing, their translucent skin gleaming under the lights. The bacterial compounds from Earth's deep ocean vents show promising results. Dr. Yunju announced. She showed them slides of the before and after samples. A murmur ran through the room. Administrator Wijin stepped forward. His face was tight with worry. "Good, because our long-range sensors just detected ships entering the system. The HFY weren't exaggerating about being pursued." The room went silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Whatever was hunting the HFY had found them. Earth's governments had been divided on whether to help the aliens. Some wanted to turn them away, fearing the danger. Others argued that humanity had a duty to help. Now, with enemy ships approaching, there was no more time for debate. The alliance formed quickly after that. United Nations ships joined with the remaining HFY vessels to form a defensive line beyond Mars. Meanwhile, scientists raced to find a permanent cure for the HFY illness. The HFY scientist Daeyeon became a regular visitor to Earth's top research facilities. Tall and graceful, he drew stares wherever he went. But his knowledge was worth the attention. "Your theory of quantum displacement is nearly correct," he told a group of propulsion engineers. Using simple tools, he showed them how to create a drive that could move a ship faster than anyone had thought possible. "We can build this?" asked one engineer in disbelief. "We built cruder versions when my great-grandmother was young," Daeyeon replied. Before the exile. On Mars, several HFY families had settled in the Olympus Mons colony. The dome-covered settlement, built on the side of the largest mountain in the solar system, became a place where the two species learned to live together. Jiwoo, a human artist who had moved to Mars years earlier, became fascinated by HFY music. Their instruments created sounds that human ears couldn't detect, but could somehow still feel. "It's like colors I never knew existed," Jiwoo told her friends after attending a HFY concert. "I didn't hear it, but I felt it in my bones." The HFY children were the first to adapt. They learned human languages quickly and taught the human children their hand gesture language in return. In playgrounds under the Martian dome, the young of both species played together, unconcerned about the differences that adults found so striking. Back on Luna, Dr. Inju worked day and night. The bacteria from Earth's deepest ocean trench was the key. These tiny organisms lived in conditions similar to the HFY's original home world, high pressure, low light, and rich in certain minerals. One evening, as she reviewed the latest lab results, Dr. Yunju allowed herself to feel hope. "The cellular degradation appears to be responding to treatment," she noted. "The bacteria from the Mariana Trench contains enzymes that stabilize their DNA structure." Science Officer Minji, who had been with the Horizon when they first discovered the HFY, looked over her shoulder at the results. "We might save them yet," she said with a smile. Just then, a piercing noise filled the lab. Red lights flashed on every wall. The alarm. Dr. Yunju and Minji ran to the nearest window. Outside, in the blackness of space, they could see flashes of light. The defense line had engaged with the incoming ships. "They're here," whispered Minji. Dr. Yunju clutched her lab results tightly. Then we need to work faster. Across the solar system, humans and Veshrai prepared for a war against an enemy they barely understood. The Veshrai had a name for them, a word that translated roughly as the Hunters. They have followed the Veshrai across 17 star systems, determined to wipe them out completely. Now they have found Earth, and humanity had chosen its side. The unlikely alliance would soon face its first test. The message arrived without warning. The alien ships that had entered the solar system did not attack. Instead, they sent a simple request, a meeting. Earth's leaders gathered in the United Nations headquarters in New York to receive the visitors. No one knew what to expect. Armed guards lined the walls of the great conference room. Captain Sunwoo stood near the door, hand resting on his weapon. The Veshrai leader Taeguk waited in a nearby room, watching on screens. When the doors opened, a collective gasp filled the room. The being that entered was unlike anything humans had seen before. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, with a dark, shell-like covering that shone under the lights. Its body was segmented like an insect's, but it moved with surprising grace. 4 arms emerged from its torso, ending in hands with 7 fingers each. Its head was wedge-shaped, with multiple eyes arranged in a pattern around it. "I am the voice of the Ketvari Imperium." The creature spoke through a translator device. "You may call me Doyen." Secretary General Ji-hoon stepped forward. He was a small man, barely reaching the alien's midsection. "We welcome you in peace. We had hoped to establish communication before any misunderstandings occurred." The alien's upper arms made a dismissive gesture. "There is no misunderstanding. You harbor criminals. We have come to collect them." Screens around the room displayed images of planets, beautiful worlds with strange plants and structures. Then the images change, showing the same worlds covered in what looked like disease, spreading patterns of decay. "The creatures you harbor are not victims," Doyen stated flatly to the Earth Council. "They engineered biological weapons that collapsed 3 civilizations before we contained them." Secretary General Ji-hoon maintained his diplomatic tone. "We understand your concerns, but we've seen no evidence of this. The Veshrai have been peaceful guests." "The Veshrai manipulate through deception," Doyen replied. "Their appearance, their seeming weakness, all carefully crafted to earn sympathy." The alien's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "You have 30 Earth days to surrender them, or we will begin sterilization protocols on your biosphere." The room erupted in voices. Some demanded immediate military response. Others suggested complying with the demand. "What exactly does sterilization protocols mean?" asked Ji-hoon. Doyen's translator produced what might have been a laugh. "It means we will remove all complex life from your world. We have done it before. We can seed the planet again after, if you wish." After the meeting, Captain Sunwoo met with Taeguk in a secure room deep beneath the UN building. "Is what they said true?" Sunwoo asked directly. Taeguk's translucent skin flushed with color, a sign of strong emotion among the Veshrai. "Not as they presented, but partially true." The alien was silent for a moment. "We did develop biological technologies, but only after centuries of Ketvari aggression. They enslaved 3 of our colony worlds. We fought back with the only advantage we had." "Neither of you is telling the complete truth," Sunwoo observed. Taeguk lowered his eyes. "Perhaps not, but extinction clarifies one's priorities." He looked up at Sunwoo. "Will your people surrender us?" Sunwoo had no answer. Earth's military leaders were already saying that fighting the Ketvari was hopeless. Their technology was too advanced, and if what they said about the Veshrai was even partly true, was protecting them worth risking all life on Earth? That night, an emergency meeting was held. Scientists, military leaders, and representatives from both species gathered in Luna Base. "We can't fight them directly," Admiral Jin said. "Their weapons systems are beyond our capabilities. And we can't surrender the Veshrai," argued Dr. Yunju. "That would make us complicit in genocide." The debate went back and forth. Surrender the Veshrai. Fight a hopeless war. Try to evacuate Earth. It was Dr. Yunju who offered a new path. What if we modify the treatment to change Veshrai biology enough that they become undetectable to Ketvari sensors? The room went quiet. Explain, said Secretary General Jihoon. The treatment we're using to cure their cellular degradation. We could modify it, change their biological signature at a fundamental level. She turned to Taeguk. The Ketvari hunt you because you're Veshrai. What if you weren't Veshrai anymore? Not in ways their sensors could detect. You mean hide them through biological alteration, said Sunwoo, understanding. Taeguk seemed troubled. You speak of changing what we are. I speak of saving your people, Dr. Yunju replied. And mine. The Veshrai and humans looked at each other across the table. 29 days remained before the Ketvari deadline. 29 days to change an entire species or face extinction. The treatment began immediately. Veshrai from across the solar system were brought to special facilities on Luna and Mars. Dr. Yunju worked without rest, perfecting the modified bacteria that would change the aliens at their most basic level. It's working, she told Captain Sunwoo 2 weeks later. Their cellular structure is changing faster than we expected. The first changes were small. The translucent quality of Veshrai skin began to fade. Their height decreased slightly. But as the treatment continued, more dramatic changes appeared. Taeguk sat in his quarters, looking at his reflection. His once clear skin now had a texture like tree bark, with swirling patterns in shades of brown and green. The glow that had once pulsed beneath his skin was gone. I don't recognize myself, he whispered, touching his face. Am I still Veshrai if nothing of my biology remains Veshrai? Juwoo, the human artist who had befriended many Veshrai on Mars, sat beside him. She had been documenting the changes through paintings. You're still you, Juwoo assured him. Your memories, your values remain. She showed him the paintings she had made of him over the weeks. See, I can still see Taeguk in your eyes. Not everyone accepted the changes so easily. Among the Veshrai, a group led by Elder Kyung believed the treatment was destroying their identity. Better to die as Veshrai than live as something else, Kyung told his followers. One night, they took a shuttle from the Mars colony, attempting to escape. Their plan was to find a distant moon where they could live out their days as true Veshrai. They never made it. The Ketvari ships, still orbiting beyond Mars, detected them immediately. The shuttle was destroyed with all aboard. They can still detect untreated Veshrai, Dr. Inju said grimly when she heard the news. We need to work faster. 20 days after the treatment began, something unexpected happened. A Veshrai couple who had been among the first to receive the treatment gave birth. The baby, named Bomi, was clearly different from both humans and Veshrai. Her skin had a soft, golden glow. Her eyes were large, like a Veshrai's, but with visible pupils that changed color based on her mood. Most surprising, though, were her mental abilities. Watch this, Dr. Inju said to a group of scientists. She placed a tablet computer near 3-day-old Bomi. The baby looked at it, and the screen lit up. Programs began to open and close. Data scrolled past. She's controlling it somehow, Yunju explained, without touching it. As more Veshrai completed their treatments, they began to show different changes. Some developed skin like Taeguk's, resembling tree bark. Others had skin that looked more like stone or metal. Their heights varied more now, and their body shapes changed in different ways. They're diversifying, observed Science Officer Minji, like they're evolving rapidly into different subspecies. The changes weren't just physical. Treated Veshrai found they could communicate with each other without speaking. Some could influence electronic systems like baby Bomi. Others developed heightened senses or the ability to understand languages they had never learned. With 5 days left before the Ketvari deadline, Earth's defenses went on high alert. The alien ships had moved closer to Earth. Probes detected in the atmosphere, reported Lieutenant June from the Lunar Defense Station. They're scanning for HFY biological signatures. Everyone held their breath. If the probes could still detect the treated HFY, everything would be lost. Hours passed. Then a message came from the HFY ships. We detect fewer HFY than before. Are you eliminating them as agreed? Secretary General Ji-hoon replied carefully. We are addressing the situation. The truth was more complex. The probes couldn't detect most of the treated HFY anymore. They had changed too much, but those still in treatment were at risk. In her lab, Dr. Yunju watched young Bomi on a monitor. The child, now a week old, was solving mathematical equations that would challenge university professors. She manipulated complex formulas with thought alone, finding solutions to problems that had stumped human mathematicians for years. They're becoming something neither human nor HFY, she murmured. Something new. As the deadline approached, a plan formed. If the HFY couldn't detect what the HFY had become, perhaps they could be convinced that the HFY were gone, eliminated or transformed beyond recognition. It was a dangerous gamble, but with time running out, it might be their only chance. The 30-day deadline arrived. In orbit above Earth, the massive HFY ship hovered like a dark cloud. On Earth, people looked up at the night sky with fear, wondering if they would live to see another dawn. The final meeting took place on a neutral platform in Earth orbit. Secretary General Ji-hoon represented humanity. Doyen spoke for the HFY. And for the first time, the transformed HFY would present themselves publicly. Doyen's segmented body seemed tense as he entered the meeting chamber. We require verification of HFY extinction, he demanded, his translator making his voice sound harsh and cold. Secretary General Ji-hoon remained calm. The HFY you knew no longer exist. He gestured toward a viewing port where a group of beings stood alongside humans. Meet the Terevish. The beings looked nothing like the HFY that the HFY had hunted across the stars. Some had skin like tree bark in various colors. Others had stone-like or metallic skin. Their heights varied, and their body shapes were different. Most striking were their eyes, still large like HFY eyes, but now with pupils that shifted colors. Doyen approached the viewing port. This is some trick, he said. Our sensors would have detected their presence. Scan them, Ji-hoon suggested. You'll find no HFY biological signatures. The HFY used a small device to scan the group. The results showed nothing resembling HFY biology. Instead, it detected something new, something that had never existed before. What have you done? Doyen asked, his multiple eyes blinking in sequence. We helped them evolve, Dr. Yunju explained, stepping forward. The illness that was killing them became the gateway to transformation. They are now Terevish, a new species born from the meeting of Earth and HFY. Doyen seemed confused. Our mission was to ensure HFY extinction. And you have succeeded, Taeguk said, his bark-like skin now patterned with swirls of amber and gold. The HFY you hunted no longer exist. The HFY ambassador was silent for a long time. His species had pursued the HFY for generations. Their orders were clear: eliminate the HFY threat. But these beings were not HFY, at least not according to any detection method they had. Show me what they have become, Doyen finally said. Over the next hours, the Terevish demonstrated their new abilities. Young Bomi, now a month old but with the mind of a genius, interfaced with complex systems using only her thoughts. Others showed their collective communication network, sharing knowledge instantly across vast distances. Some displayed new medical techniques they had developed, curing diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. The hybrid knowledge of the Terevish had already produced remarkable advancements in sustainable energy and medicine. They had helped humans develop ships that could travel faster than ever before. They had found ways to grow food in the harshest environments. We will withdraw, Doyen finally conceded, but we will be watching. If we detect any return to HFY biological patterns or technologies, we will return. The Ketvari ships left the solar system the next day. Earth celebrated, but everyone knew the watch would continue. The Teravish would need to remain as they were, a new species, separate from what they had been. 10 years passed. The solar system changed dramatically. Human and Teravish communities spread throughout the planets and moons. New cities rose on Mars and in the asteroid belt. The two species worked together, each bringing different strengths to their shared civilization. At the Mars shipyards, the first true interstellar vessel prepared for launch. Unlike the slower ships that had brought the Veshrai to our system, this one could travel between stars in months rather than generations. Captain Sunwoo, now with gray in his hair, stood on the bridge with Taeguk. The years had changed Taeguk too. His bark-like skin had developed a golden hue that seemed to glow from within. Our ancestors would not recognize what we've become, Taeguk observed, looking at the crew of humans and Teravish working together. But they would recognize that we survived, Sunwoo replied, watching young Bomi, now a talented navigator, take her position at the console. And sometimes that's enough. Bomi looked up and smiled. Her eyes shifted to a bright blue, showing her excitement. With a thought, she connected to the ship's systems, preparing them for the long journey ahead. The ship's engines hummed to life, powered by Veshrai knowledge and human ingenuity. As it rose from the Martian surface, it carried with it the legacy of two civilizations that had faced extinction together and won. The stars waited, and for the first time, humanity would not go to them alone.